Defense Forum. I'm your host, Gary Costanza, and tonight we're going to bring you film clips of our trek up to Albany to cover the Legislative Education and Awareness Day in support of shared parenting bills and family law reform. And in the studio here tonight, as my co-host, we have John DeVito. Welcome, John. Welcome, my friend. And John and I went up there and we covered this lead, as they call it, in support of shared parenting bills up there in Albany. John and I went, and we brought our cameras, and we're going to bring to you in two parts the very important speeches and issues raised up there in Albany. John, right?
Yeah, like I said, when we were up there, it was like 40 minutes and they were like rushing us out.
Yeah.
You
A
know,
lot quicker than the previous year.
yeah, because when you were telling me last year when you were there, I would go last year, I heard it was like 2 hours,
Yeah.
and then you could sit down and talk to the politicians.
Right.
This time I went up there, poof, they were gone
Yeah.
in a flash.
Well, our viewers will see, exactly the gist of that meeting this year. We're going to have about 15 minutes tonight, and next week also another 15 minutes of speeches. Very interesting, important issues. Very important issues. Shared parenting bill, okay? Family law reform. Of course, we're not going to have a lot of time to delve into any of these matters tonight in depth. We'll just sort of, have a cursory discussion of it. But in future shows, we will. Now, of course, the National Organization of Women, they were supposed to be there to oppose these shared parenting bills. They weren't there, though.
They weren't
It's
there.
funny, I know.
They were hiding.
John, right on the way in there, we're driving along, we're saying, we're expecting to see them outside protesting. There were not a one. But what galls me is, in future shows we're going to talk about it more, but they who profess to talk about equality and men should step up to the plate and be involved in their children's lives, they should be with us in the shared parenting bill support. But they come out against shared parenting. Why?
Because it's money.
It's money.
It's like Rush Limbaugh says, follow the money trail.
Exactly.
And you follow the money trail, it's money for the lawyers, it's money for the doctors, these whacked out doctors who supposed to be psych.
Well, supposedly.
I went through that already, 3 doctors. I went through a bad divorce on me, and I went through 3
Shared parenting to them means less child support, or maybe no child support. But this is in the best interest of the child. You'll see as the speeches show. Best interest of the child, and I have to say, many of these politicians, say that the reason for this is the best interest of the child, which it is, of course. Every child should have 2 parents involved. But I'm not afraid to say that my reason for this also is that men and fathers should, for the reason of equality, that men deserve equal rights with women and mothers. And I don't want to mask it in the behind the idea of children need both parents. That's true. But also fathers need their children. They need their family. This is a father's family.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Right?
But here's the deal. When I went through my bad time,
Yeah.
they dumped on me like you couldn't believe. On all fathers. This is 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They haven't changed in 15, 20 years.
No, not at all. We're trying to change that.
The kids are-
We're a wallet now. So what we're going to bring to you now, in this first series of clips, is first Jim Hayes introduces some of the politicians. David Siddickman, who's probably the foremost proponent of shared parenting bills. He's been in it for years. He's going to continue to do this for years. He makes a nice little speech. Then Randy Dickinson, he's another organizer. He comes in. Mike McCormick, I believe he's a national, he's a president of one of these fathers' rights groups and children groups. Bob Prentice, another politician, he really makes a really good speech. So without further ado, we're going to bring these clips to you. Here you go.
That a man and a woman are. I don't think it's about a man or a woman. I think it's about two people and a child, and the child should come first.
I want to break this thought. I'm going to read a quote right now, which is very important for the individuals watching this show to understand. This is by Karen DeCrow. She's an attorney in upstate New York. She's the past president, national president for the National Photo District for Women. I'm just going to take a small sentence and she'll out of a larger volume, and she said back in 1992, which she has opinion there. If there is a divorce in a family, I urge the presumption of joint custody of children. It's the best option for women. I'm going to just go over detail of that.
I agree with that 1,000%. That if you're giving custody to one or the other, you're setting yourself up for acrimony. You're giving people a reason to fight. You're giving people something to win. When what you should be looking at is the child, period.
You're also setting up a situation where if you have custody, like I said, insisted on 2 days a week, every weekend, holidays, was liberal visitation, if you want to call it back in 1970, whatever it was. My attorney was at me to change it, to not allow the father to see his son. And we live in the same town. Why? Because that's what many attorneys do. What was his thought process? Doesn't deserve it.
So he was feeding into this movement back in 1997, and back then, when I first got involved with the legislature, this was the first person I was introduced to. Carried the bill, he's been our supporter, he's been our leader, and I think we should put our hands together, make a loud noise. Let's show our support for Assemblyman Davidson.
Here we are again, all of us. I know there are a lot of people who are visiting other legislators, colleagues of mine, to talk about this issue. It's very simple. The system is broken. The family court system is broken. What I'm concerned about is the welfare of the children. We have all the statistics that show your children are at risk from drugs, alcohol, scholastic underachievement, and unfortunately, suicide. My whole life I'm concerned with one thing. I'm concerned with fairness. There is no fairness in this system. An independent film producer has made a film about the system, and I'm in it. I open and close it. She's negotiating with cable stations to show it. She has entered the film in various movie festivals. And hopefully, soon, the rest of the world will know how bad it is for the children. We want to protect them. So I'm in this fight. I've been in it now for 10 years, and as long as I have the strength, I will continue to be in this fight. Many of my colleagues are with me on this. Jack McEnany, Bob Prentice, and many others. And we will continue to fight to see to it that we have fairness in the system, because certainly it's not fair to permit a custodial parent to take a child 400 or 500 miles away, and the court says that this is in the best interest of the child. How can that possibly be in the best interest of the child? It's certainly not fair when America's hero, no matter what to think of him, he's still a hero, Rudy Giuliani, had a divorce, children are pretty well grown up. He was denied joint custody of his children. Now, we all know what shared parenting is. It doesn't mean that the child has to live with the parent, each parent equally. It means basically joint decision-making, religion, health, schooling, so that the child knows that there are two parents interested in his or her welfare. I'm afraid at this point, we really have to rely on the courts. And it appears to me that sole custody is a violation of the Equal Protection Law or the Due Process Law of the U.S. Constitution.
Yep.
So hang in there. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to work with women's groups to see that we can craft a plan, a way to fix the system so that you will have equal access to your children as you deserve. Thank you.
Can you all hear me? Sure. Good. I don't think I need that. We have with us here also this morning the executive director who's come all the way up from Washington, D.C., executive director for our national affiliate, the American Coalition of Children and Families, Michael McCormick. Mike, if you'll come up here. Mike has the opportunity to present to David for tireless advocating for legislation in support of fathers and families over many years. This plaque. David, I appreciate it. Now, if I can, we'd like to introduce our next legislator who's carrying probably one of the most comprehensive family court reform bills that has been introduced to date and has been an avid supporter, as David points out, Bob Prentice. Bob, if you come forward and say a few words.
What do you say? Do kids need both parents?
Yes.
Thank you. I believe in your core message. A family is not complete and healthy unless both parents are active and recognized participants in the upbringing of children, even when the parents are divorced. Unfortunately, New York State seems to feel that non-custodial parents are simply ancillary to the child rearing process, valued more for their financial contributions than their parenting presence.
Yeah.
That's wrong. We know it's unfair, because that attitude persists. It's persisted ever since I've been in the New York State Legislature 10 years ago. I've got legislation in there that's been buried in committee at least 4 years now. We got legislation that you just heard from Assemblyman Cinnamon that shared parenting. We've been fighting and fighting for years to get out. We just can't give up. We got to keep fighting. New York quite rightly seeks to enforce child support obligations, but is noticeably silent when it comes to the rights of responsible, non-custodial parents having a say in how their child is reared. Parents who meet their financial obligations should have their parental rights as vigorously enforced as support obligations.
Yeah.
Study after study has shown that children who endure the divorce of their parents are better served when both parents can put aside differences and cooperate in the rearing of their children. The York State should work to facilitate that goal rather than impede it. That's why I have been sponsoring a very comprehensive court reform package, legislation, Assembly Bill 6269, that seeks to address some of the issues concerning non-custodial parenting. Just briefly, as you know, some of the bill's stipulations include establishing that shared parenting is in the best interest of the child. Eliminating the use of the term visitation for non-custodial parents and substituting parenting time. You're not just visiting.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Mandating that mediation and family counseling prior to appearance in family court in any matter involving children. Providing sanctions for withholding parenting time without cause. Amen.
Yep. All right.
I go to fathers' rights meetings every now and then here at the Colony. We have a very active chapter. And I hear so many horror stories about sanctions, about fathers denied parenting rights. Local support collection units must keep accurate records and issue quarterly statements to those who they support. And allowing both parents, that's you, access to the records and the information relating to the health, education, and welfare of their children. Do you love mommy and daddy? Why can't I have both?
Yeah.
Of them? Listen to that little girl on a t-shirt. Because the New York State Legislature doesn't hear you crying. Doesn't hear you crying. So let's rally and make them hear you. Let's all work together to make our families stronger. Let's all work to keep our fathers and families together.
Yeah.
Fairly sizable award. We don't want you to get the big head that you're getting bigger with than anybody else. If you'll recall, a couple of years ago, you made a speech at our candlelight vigil on this Capitol steps out here, and so we thought that you'd appreciate it being properly presented to you to hang on your wall, and we certainly appreciate your time.
Very much. Everyone to see.
All right.
Including Assemblywoman Weinstein if she drives.
Yeah. So that's what we encountered up in Albany. They really did hit the nail on the head at times. It was pretty concise, I think. David Siddickman was good. He shortened his speech this time. He covered subjects about, of course, this is in the best interest of the children. Of course, the Rudy Giuliani thing. You know, the most powerful man, the most popular guy in New York government, and he couldn't even get joint custody. That's the problem in New York. If you go into family court, you can't get joint custody. It has to be agreed on, and if there's no agreement, the judge has to award sole custody, which his point is also that it's unconstitutional, of course. That's taking natural-born rights away from dads and fathers.
They took it away from me.
Men, it's terrible.
They took it away from me.
The system is broken, of course. Joint decision-making. He sort of elaborated on like what shared parenting would be. It doesn't have to be a 50-50 sharing of physical custody. It's at the least joint decision-making, medical, legal decision-making, where the sole custodial parent doesn't have all the decision-making, pertaining to your child, your flesh and blood. What else? Bob Prentice was very good, talking about how we're treated as wallets and not showing that our presence in the child's lives are the most important thing. Very good. The change of terminology to parenting time, not visitation. We're not visitors in our child's life. We're parents. We're parents. And that's got to be put into the letter of the law, if you ask me. Enforcing this parenting time as strongly as child support, right? And enforcing sanctions on custodial parents who don't adhere to that family court order, right, John?
To this day, I can't find out anything about my kid. My daughter had childhood diabetes.
Yeah.
She's 19 years old. I never knew this until 10 years later.
See that's not right. We've got to get shared parenting in this state.
And when I wanted to get access to my son's and my daughter's records about their health, I said, wait a minute, I'm the biological father, and I can't get this? Well, you gotta ask the mother first.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll get permission.
All right, John, we're running out of time. What I want to say to my viewers, and you can say to your viewers, John has his own show. I'll let him speak about it in a minute. Wait a second. I want to say that the Men's Forum show times are going to change October 1st, 2004. They're going to change in Brookhaven Town to Tuesday, 10:30 p.m., Channel 20, of course. And in Woodbury, the Woodbury Cablevision system, 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 a.m., also on Tuesdays. Manhattan is probably going to stay at Thursday at 3 p.m. on Channel 34. I would like you to jot down this email because that's the way you can find out the latest times, the most up-to-date times and channels for the Men's Forum. gcastans@suffolk.lib.ny.us. John, mention your show quickly.
All right, my show comes on Saturday at 3 a.m. on the Hop Park and Brookhaven at 3 a.m. Saturday morning. Also Saturday at 12:30 on Channel 20.
And what's the title of your show?
It's called Let's Make a Movie.
Okay.
How to take a camcorder and make a movie with it.
All right, very good. John, thank you so much for joining me, and we're going to be back next week with part 2 of that legislative session up in Albany. Until next week, good night from the Men's Forum.